Longview Church. It sounds like I need some help there. Got it? There, we've got it. Okay. Welcome to Longview Community Church. I'm Susie Kirkpatrick, and I have attended here all my life, and I have had this group rehearsing in my living room for the last 2 years. So I guess that qualifies me to stand here. For 70 years, this sanctuary has hosted concerts of classical, religious, holiday, and patriotic music. And today, we once again host the Lower Columbia Clarinet Guild. These accomplished musicians have been sight-reading music of all genres since COVID shut down their usual musical outlets, the LCC Symphonic Band, the Northwest Wind Ensemble, and the Southwest Washington Symphony. During these 2 years, the group has discovered hundreds of compositions for clarinet groups, overtures and symphonies, band marches, movie themes, and even rock and roll standards. American patriotic music is part of the history and culture of the United States and has served to encourage feelings of honor for the country's forefathers and for national unity. These patriotic compositions include hymns, military themes, national songs, and even music from the stage and screen. Some have been adapted from poems. Much of the repertoire owes its origin to wartime, when national pride is critically important. We start today the way many events start, with the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1814, a young Washington attorney, Francis Scott Key, wrote "Defense of Fort McHenry" after watching the British bombardment of the Baltimore fort during the War of 1812. Later, after the title was changed, the lyrics were attached to a British song, the Anacreonic Song, written by John Stafford Smith. The Anacreonic Society was an 18th century London gentlemen's club of amateur musicians. The song was first published in 1814 by Washington Irving, who later wrote The Headless Horseman. In 1892, Colonel Caleb Carleton, post commander at Fort Meade, South Dakota, proposed making it the national anthem. And since 1897, it's often been performed before sporting events. But it wasn't until 1918 that Maryland Congressman John Charles Linthicum introduced a bill to officially recognize it as the national anthem. The bill failed, and failed, and failed, and failed, and failed. Shortly after the sixth proposal, a petition circulated by the veterans of foreign wars, and it garnered 5 million signatures. A year later, the bill passed both houses of Congress and was signed by President Herbert Hoover in 1931. Next is America, my country 'tis of thee. These words were written by Samuel Francis Smith, then a 24-year-old seminary student in Boston in 1831. He'd been hired by music publishing icon Lowell Mason to translate lyrics from German and French hymns. Instead, 30 minutes before a gorgeous sunset, he created new lyrics for a tune long sung in Europe, God Save the Queen or King, in England, and God Bless Our Native Land in Germany. Smith went on to compose 150 hymns and compile the leading Baptist hymnal of the day. He edited a missionary magazine and pastored prominent East Coast churches. Until 1931, America, My Country 'Tis of Thee, was the unofficial national anthem of the United States. American Patrol March. This march was written by Frank White Meacham in 1885 and published in 1891. It combines original musical themes by Meacham with melodies of contemporary American patriotic songs, Columbia, the Gem of the Ocean, Dixie, and Yankee Doodle. 6 years after Meacham composed the tune for piano, Carl Fisher arranged it for wind band. Glenn Miller's orchestra recorded a swing version arranged by Jerry Gray in 1942. Often performed by the U.S. Marine Band, they first performed it on July 2nd, 1892 in Portland, Oregon. America the Beautiful. In 1893, poet Catherine Lee Bates, professor at Wellesley, was teaching a summer course in Colorado Springs. When she wrote the words as Pike's Peak, she was inspired by what was called the White City after a number of massive white buildings built for the Chicago World's Fair, the wheat fields of Kansas, and the majestic views of the Great Plains from Pike's Peak. Retitled America, the poem was published 3 years later on July 4, 1895, in the church periodical, The Congregationalist. Samuel Ward, church organist and choirmaster at Grace Episcopal Church in Newark, New Jersey, composed the melody titled Materna in 1882 and published it in 1892. Ward's inspiration was a ferryboat trip from Coney Island back to his New York City home on a leisurely summer day. 18 years later, in 1910, the lyrics and music were combined as America the Beautiful. Bates and Ward never met. Battle Hymn of the Republic. Abolitionist writer Julia Ward Howe took the tune John Brown's Body in 1861 and published her lyrics in the Atlantic Monthly in February 1862. Soldiers had set lyrics of John Brown's Body to an old folk tune. Howe heard the song during a public review of the troops outside Washington, D.C. Her companion, Reverend James Freeman Clark, suggested that Howe write new words, which she created after awakening in the middle of the night. The chorus, Glory, Glory, Hallelujah, is essentially unchanged from John Brown's Body. The Liberty Bell March. In 1893, John Philip Sousa was composing an operetta entitled The Devil's Deputy, but the financing for the show fell through. Shortly after, at the Chicago World's Fair, Sousa's band manager, George Hinton, and Sousa were watching a stage spectacle entitled America. The curtain backdrop featured the Liberty Bell, which to this day sits next to Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Almost simultaneously, Sousa received a letter from his wife saying their son had marched in a parade honoring the Liberty Bell. So the March from the Devil's Deputy became the Liberty Bell March. The U.S. Marine Band has played the Liberty Bell for the last 6 presidential inaugurations. Country music artist Lee Greenwood wrote his signature song, God Bless the USA, in 1984, and it soon reached number 7 on the Billboard Country Singles Chart. It became widely recognized when played at the 1984 Republican National Convention, but even more popular when aired frequently during the aftermath of 9/11 and the Gulf Wars that followed. Actually, Greenwood wrote the song in response to the shooting down of Korean Airlines Flight 107. He wanted to show his faith in the opportunities available to those lucky enough to live in the United States. It's been recorded as a music video many times, and there's an especially moving version that we recommend. It was a collaboration between Lee, the a cappella group Home Free, and several uniformed vocalists serving in the U.S. Air Force. National Emblem. Edwin Eugene Begley composed this popular march in 1902 and published it 4 years later. He wrote the piece during a train tour with his family band, Wheeler's Band of Bellows Falls, Vermont. During the tour, he became frustrated with the ending, but his band members preserved it. Even though it was very popular and one of John Philip Sousa's favorites, he garnered only $25 for selling the copyright. The march was first recorded in 1908. The lyrics of the Navy hymn, Eternal Father, Strong to Save, were written as a poem by William Whiting in Winchester, England in 1860 for a student leaving for the U.S. Whiting composed many other poetry collections, but his career in music ended when he died shortly after he turned 53. The melody, published in 1861, was composed by Reverend John Bacchus Dykes, an Episcopalian clergyman. Dykes, at age 10, was assistant organist at St. John's Church in England and co-founded the Cambridge University Music Society. After creating 300 hymn tunes, he also died at age 53 in 1876. It became known as the Navy hymn because it was commonly performed at the U.S. Naval Academy and also sung by sailors in the British Royal Navy. It was the favorite hymn of Secretary of the Navy and later President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It was sung at his funeral and also performed by the U.S. Navy Band in 1963 as the body of Navy veteran and President John F. Kennedy was carried up the Capitol steps to lie in state. Most popular of John Philip Sousa's 136 military marches, The Stars and Stripes Forever, was composed in 1897. By age 13, Sousa was playing the violin and various band instruments. He then decided to follow in his father's footsteps by taking up the trombone. He enlisted in the U.S. Marines. After molding the Marine Band into the greatest of the era, he formed his own band in 1892 and toured the world playing military and symphonic music. Sousa also wrote 156 non-march compositions, 3 novels, and an instruction book for trumpet and drum. He developed a low brass instrument, the helicon, into what is now known as the sousaphone. The U.S. Armed Forces has 6 branches, and this medley features 5 of their tunes. The U.S. Army, The Army Goes Rolling Along; U.S. Marines, From the Halls of Montezuma to the Shores of Tripoli; U.S. Navy, Anchors Aweigh; U.S. Air Force, Off We Go into the Wild Blue Yonder; and the U.S. Coast Guard, Semper Paratus. Today's pieces have been arranged or transcribed for clarinet ensemble by Ken Abeling, Todd Marchand, Joseph Pugh, and Longview musician Brian Huffman. Thanks for joining us. We hope this music helps rekindle your faith in our country. And to all of our veterans, we sincerely thank you for your service.
We're done.